This is a story called The Little Monsters, Chapter 73. The kids get caught messing about in the school swimming pool. Excuse me. It's a school day and the girls are having their weekly swimming lesson. However, one of the kids cut her foot open on a loose tile in the pool and she's taken to see the school nurse. She had to be carried there because she couldn't walk. The swimming teacher tells the rest of the girls to get out of the pool and to stay and to wait in the changing room until she comes back. The kids know that it takes at least 15 minutes to get to the nurse's office. They wait until their teacher, Mrs. Paydrop, is out of sight, and then they jump in the pool and start messing about. They mess about for about 20 minutes and then one of the girls spots Mrs. Paydrop coming back. They quickly jump out of the pool and sit in the changing room. Mrs. Paydrop was none the wiser and she told the girls that they had 45 minutes left of the lesson. When the girls' lesson was over, it was time for Mr. Pease to take the boys' swimming lesson. After the boys had been in the pool for about 10 minutes, Mr. Pease was called away to deal with two boys who were late and were fighting in the changing room. He told the rest of the boys to get out of the pool and sit on the side of it for a while until he came back. Of course, they didn't take any notice, because as soon as Mr. Pease left, they all jumped back in the water. Then someone shouted, "Mr. Pease is coming back!" Everyone got out of the water and sat at the side. Just before the teacher came back in, the kids made arrangements to come back at lunchtime and have races. The boys told the girls their plan and there was about 16 kids that turned up. They made sure that the caretaker and teachers weren't anywhere close by, got changed and jumped into the pool. They all had a free period after lunch and they all knew that there was no swimming during that time, so they stayed there. Then someone spotted the caretaker coming, but thankfully he didn't come to the pool as he got talking to a teacher. This gave the kids enough time to dry off, get dressed and leave. The next day they did the same thing again, but this time a few more kids turned up. They decided to throw all the benches from the side of the pool into the water, climb on them and have races. Then someone saw Mr. Pease come in and everyone climbed out of the pool, grabbed their things from the changing rooms and ran into the toilets, dried off and got dressed. The next day, just after morning break, the kids were sent home because the teachers were going on strike. However, quite a lot of them made their way to the swimming pool and they stayed there all day until home time and then they went home. The next day, the gang and some other kids decided to sneak into the school early and went into the school swimming pool. Unfortunately this time Mr. Pease heard a commotion and he went to investigate. When he went to the pool's changing rooms and saw all of the kids' clothes, he took off his shoes and socks and went through to the pool and caught the kids red-handed. He blew his whistle and told them to get out, dry off and get dressed. Then he said to them, "Why were you kids in the swimming pool without permission and supervision?" Bumpy said, "We were only having fun, there's nothing wrong with that." "There's everything wrong with that, Bumpy. You kids know that you're not allowed in the pool unless a member of staff is with you. You know that's dangerous. If I catch any of you in the pool without a staff member present, you'll all be in serious trouble. Now, there's no school today because the teachers are on strike, so please leave the premises," said Mr. Pease. The kids pretended to do as they were told, but as soon as Mr. Pease was out of sight, they all sneaked off back into the pool. They stayed there all day and the teachers didn't have a clue. The next day the teachers were still striking, so the kids made their way to the school swimming pool again. This time the caretaker heard a commotion coming from the school swimming pool and he went to investigate. When he got there the pool was empty and so were the changing rooms. Unfortunately for him, the kids had seen him and they got out of the pool, got dried, got dressed and hid. He locked the swimming pool changing room doors so no one could get in. However, Kika followed him and she saw where he put the keys. As he walked away, she went and got them. Then she went back to the others and everyone went back into the swimming pool. This time though, they locked the changing room doors from the inside and left the keys in so no one could get in. When they left, they sneaked back to put the keys back where they'd found them. As they did so, they found a set of keys to the main school gate and took them. The following day was Saturday and the kids knew that the caretaker didn't work over the weekend, so they went to the school. When they got there, they unlocked the school gates, got the keys to the swimming pool, got changed and then went in the swimming pool and stayed there all day. The next day they did the exact same thing, but at this time it was just the gang. They stayed there all day and then they went home. The next day, instead of attending classes, they went straight to the school swimming pool. Then some more kids came and joined them. Unfortunately, Mr. Pease heard them messing about again and he went in and told them to get out of the water and sit on the benches. Then he said to them, "I thought I told you kids that you're not allowed in here without a teacher." "So what, sir? We weren't doing anything wrong," said Stumpy. "Oh, go and get dressed and then go for your lunch and don't let me catch you in here without a teacher again," said Mr. Pease. The kids waited until he'd gone and then they locked the changing room doors from the inside and went back in the pool. However, they forgot to leave the keys in the door so no one could get in and they didn't realise that the caretaker had another set of keys. About 10 minutes after they got it back in the pool, the caretaker heard them. He knew that Mr. Pease had told them to leave, so he put the keys in the changing room doors on the outside, so the kids couldn't get out. Then he went and got Mr. Pease and Mrs. Tinker. When they got there, they went through to the pool. Mr. Pease blew his whistle and told them all to get out and sit on the benches. Then Mrs. Tinker said, "You were all told that you were not allowed in the swimming pool without a member of staff here, but you all chose to take no notice. You have 4 weeks left of this term. You have 4 weeks left of this term. You will all stay in for a week at playtime and lunchtime. You have 4 weeks left of this term. You will all stay in for a week at playtime and lunchtime, and you will each do 2 hours detention after school for 2 weeks, and there will be no swimming for any of you for the rest of the term." "Oh, come on, miss, that's not fair," said Stumpy. "Would you like me to extend that, Stumpy?" asked Mrs. Tinker. "No, miss," answered Stumpy. The kids did their detention and they stayed away from the pool. However, that's what they made the staff think. The next day they all sneaked into school really early and went straight to the swimming pool. This time, Kicker locked the changing room doors on the inside and left the keys in the locks. They stayed there all day instead of going to their classes. Just before home time they got out, dried off and got dressed. Then they waited for the school bell to go and for all the kids to pile out of the classrooms, and then they went home. The next day they did the exact same thing again. In fact, they did the same thing for the rest of the week until they got caught by the caretaker again. He tried to get into the changing rooms, but he couldn't because the doors were locked. He went and got Mr. Pease and Mrs. Tinker. Mr. Pease managed to force the door open, but by the time they got in, the kids were gone. The next day, Mrs. Tinker and Mr. Pease went to school early so that they could catch the kids red-handed. However, the gang who were the ones being naughty had copies of the keys made using their pocket money. They spent the day at their secret hideout and went home at the normal time. The next day the caretaker noticed that the keys to the swimming pool were missing, so he had the locks changed. However, there were two sets of keys to the lock and he dropped a set, so the kids took them. Unfortunately, he realised, and when he came back for them, he caught the gang letting themselves in, and Mrs. Tinker saw them too as she drove into the school car park. Excuse me. She parked her car and then she went over to the kids and said, "You lot, go to my office at once and don't even think about betraying me. You're in enough trouble as it is." For once the kids did as they were told. When they got to Mrs. Tinker's office, they were caned and banned from the school swimming pool for the rest of the school year. When they got home, their parents knew everything. The kids were smacked hard on their bums and grounded for a month and banned from watching TV for 2 weeks and then sent to their rooms. Of course, they didn't stay there. They got their overnight stuff together, climbed out their bedroom windows and met up at the secret hideout where they spent the night. End of chapter 73. Thanks for watching, guys.